with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here. Our board has adopted policy and procedure 1400, meeting conduct, order of business, and form, which are available on the district website. This policy ensures that all meetings are conducted in a civil, orderly, and business-like manner. Whether you're a board member, staff, student, or guest, we all follow the same standards of civility during these meetings. Starting July 1st, 2024, all regular board meetings are audio and video recorded and available on the district website in compliance with RCW 4237. These recordings, which include written comments and public testimony, will be kept for at least 1 year. Public comment is required at regular meetings when final action is taken. We value public participation, and each regular board meeting includes a public comment period, as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Comments can be made verbally or in writing. Written comments must be submitted at least 24 hours before the meeting and must follow the board standards of civility. Public comment is limited to 30 minutes, with each speaker allotted 3 minutes. You cannot donate time to other speakers or speak more than once per meeting, even if time remains. This period is for the board to listen, not to engage in dialogue. The board will not respond to comments, questions, or challenges during the comment period, and silence should not be interpreted as agreement or disagreement. However, the board chair may ask for clarifications, and district staff may follow up with individuals after the meeting. Please be mindful of the impact of your words. Each speaker is responsible for their own statements, not the district. Certain remarks could violate privacy laws or be considered defamatory. If you're unsure about the legal implications of your comments, we recommend seeking legal advice. In closing, we ask that everyone help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. Thank you for being here and for your contributions. Okay, first order of business is I need a motion for approval of the regular school board meeting minutes for Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of the consent agenda. Was there any questions before we? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Making an assumption
Oh.
there's no public comment.
Yes, I'm sorry. I realized I just skipped over that. I was like, wait. Was there any public comments? Okay. Then just go report. I think so, yes. Yeah, because you were here in September, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's what I
and
thought.
then I guess you weren't.
I was not here in
Okay,
October.
right,
so-
right. I presented last time.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
You'll have to use that cord to plug in your laptop into.
Yes, I think I'm in.
Okay.
I've tested it before.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so Kara Moore usually provides the presentation. She's on vacation, so I get the opportunity to present to you all tonight. I'm going to start with enrollment. Here's our trends. The enrollment for the school district increased since the beginning, which is typical. And then at this point in time, we're still above the budget, which is, I believe, yeah, right. Budget, and then the average for the years at the end is the dot. So everything is looking really good so far this year, and is in line with the trends in the past. Any questions? Okay. And then here are the monthly cash balances for October. starting next month, we'll be able to start providing the budget status reports now that the year is closed and we finally have final numbers. But in the meantime, we wanted to let you know where your fund balances are according to the treasurer in October. In the general fund, total cash is 2.4 million with 1.9 in investments. Capital fund, $2.5 million. ASB currently has $28,000 in cash, and then transportation vehicle fund, it's all investments at just over $790,000. Anything I can answer on those ones? Okay, I've got a relatively large presentation for you for year-end finances. Feel free to stop me at any time to ask questions. I'm going to try to be as detailed as possible without getting very into the weeds, which is kind of a tricky thing for me to do since I am in the weeds all the time. So give it a shot. Okay, this is an extremely high overview of all of the funds as compared to the previous years. So, for example, the general fund here, you can see that's this year, and then the previous 2 years are just below it for comparison. The beginning balance was 2.5 million. Revenues, 12.2 million, expenditures a little bit more than revenues at 12.4 million, and then your ending fund balance there. The ending fund balance over the years has remained quite steady. This past year, just a bit lower than the previous year, but still very healthy in balance. Capital projects has been increasing over the years. I understand that this past year, this school year, fiscal year, was the first time that collected on the new levy. And then you also had a large grant for a little over $1 million that covered those expenditures this year for the elementary school improvements.
That was the AC at the elementary.
Was there also this building too, right? The heat, levers or something?
Yes.
This year.
Are we still paying on it? That's this year?
It's 25, 26.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
ASB is very steady and stable and consistent over the years. Revenues almost matched expenditures. And then transportation vehicle fund has been steadily increasing with including the purchase of vehicles in previous years, but since there weren't any purchases this past year, your ending fund balance is $785,000.
We need to get 2 buses.
2 buses this year.
Yeah. That's what it's there for.
Yes, yes. That's good.
Here is your enrollment for the last 6 years. The one thing of note is that in 24-25, the budget was, the budgeted enrollment was 472. So there'll be a common theme through the slides where your actual enrollment was higher than your budget. So that equates to higher revenue and then higher expenses in some areas, which I'll touch on. And again, another high-level summary. Your fund balance just slightly decreased from the prior year. Unassigned fund balance was 2.26 million. 620 of that is held as per the board policy in your minimum fund balance. So it's sort of a value that is kind of untouchable, so that you have enough money in case of a real emergency. Overall revenues are 892,000 more than budgeted, and expenditures were a bit more than budgeted at 154,800.
And the increase in revenues, grant, the additional grant funding probably.
If you need, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and I will definitely cover that a little bit more in the future slides, but yes, it's mostly state grant funding. I just wanted to make sure it was separate from your capital.
Yes.
projects, yeah. Okay, now we're gonna really have a lot of numbers up there for you. This is, again, a high-level overview. So I'm going to sort of talk about the structure of this table because it carries through to the future slides. So in this column here is your actuals from the 23-24 school year. Between these two bars is this past fiscal year, so it's the budget and the actuals. And then there's a budget variance. So this compares the actuals to the budget that was developed at the beginning of the school year. The top section here is all the revenues. Next section is expenditures. And then the bottom section sort of breaks out the ending fund balance and shows you what is restricted for certain purposes versus what's unassigned. I know it's quite small. A couple of notes while we're here. What you just referred to is this large variance is 754,000. So revenues were for state funding in this category was 2.6 million, and the district received 3.3 million. So again, I'll go over that even a little bit more in detail here in a bit. Yes.
What is the capacity line?
How did you know
You were
that's
gonna
what I
get
was
there.
gonna talk
Okay, I'm
about?
sorry, right?
So, I will try to explain it as briefly as possible. What you budget for expenditures is what you are limited to spending for the school year. So, Carrie is amazing at getting grants, and they're not all anticipated, right? And then those grants have expenditures associated with them, that you can't spend anything over what you budget. So what is traditionally done is we build in like a cushion, so that if you have added revenues and expenditures from grants, et cetera, you don't have to ask for a budget amendment. So in order to get a budget amendment, you have to have a public hearing and advertise it. And so in order to try and streamline that process, we just put a little bit of a cushion at the beginning of the year, and it gives you a lot more flexibility for being able to get more revenue and associated expenses for programs. So on that note, officially budget-wise, for example, in this slide, it's showing that your budget revenue was 11.7 million and actual was 12.2. However, that $400,000 capacity is a cushion and is not necessarily what you're anticipating. So we provided another yellow highlighted number that pulls that cushion out so you can see what was actually intended at the beginning of the year. So hopefully that helps you see the numbers in different ways. Makes sense. And so it's the same for the revenue and the expenditures. So that's where we end up in the year, $893,000 more than budgeted. And then for the expenditures, $155,000-ish more than budgeted. And then lastly, the one thing that I want to point out is your true unassigned fund balance, taking out your minimum fund balance is about $1.6 million. Now, we are going to dive really deep and start to talk about the different aspects of your actuals.
Can you do a Control Plus on your?
Yes, I have a next slide that's even.
Oh, okay.
But I will do that as well. So this is the whole chart, and then this is a bit bigger, but. Oh, Control Plus, I've never actually done this before. All right, let's see how that.
That's good.
Okay. All right, revenue by source. So this table shows where your revenue is coming from, local taxes, local non-tax, state, federal, and then other. Things to note here, your local tax revenue is slightly higher than budgeted. What else do we have here? In your local non-tax, there's a few variances in here that look relatively large, but they're actually kind of net zero. We were talking about this prior to this meeting. There was a scales grant that was budgeted, the revenue here, in 2298, but the expenditures were captured here in this line item. So it looks like there's a large variance, but it's really not. It's close to net zero.
We didn't actually get 100,000 in gifts and donations.
Correct. Unfortunately. This apportionment revenue that was higher than budgeted is associated with higher enrollment, which I mentioned quickly before. And then here in 4121 special education, this revenue was much higher than expected for safety net. So the district received a lot of funding for that this year. And then in this special and pilot programs here, 4158, there were a number of unbudgeted grants that the district received revenue in that line item.
I have some questions about the timber dollars. So at the, and but just the difference, I'm trying to get my brain around this. There's the timber excise tax, and is that the state timber money that all the districts split? And then there's below that, state general, state forests. And so, and both of them, it seemed like we budgeted for more and got less. So are those, what's the difference between those two? I'll find out.
I used to know this.
I went to one of the workshops and I came in late and I kind of missed that part. I'll find out, I'll call that guy Russ.
And I can find my notes on it.
Yeah, and I don't know off the top of my head. I wish I did. I just know that it's always difficult, and I'm Ms. Matthews, by the way, I think I've met I work with Angie. You know, those kind of things that you kind of estimate it because it kind of goes up and down like this. So I'm not as familiar, because this is our first year with the district, but I'm guessing that you might have gone up and down. I don't know if Lisa has any concept on that, but it's one of the harder things to budget.
We budget very conservatively there because you never know what we're really going to get.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah, I mean, I think some other school districts have gotten in trouble budgeting, like thinking that they were going to get a whole bunch of money and then didn't.
The state force is pretty high, but I actually have all the historical.
Okay. When I went to that workshop, Russ Pfeiffer was a guy from next county up, Picture. He said, oh, there is some movement to pull another 77,000 acres of older lots up. And as an environmentalist, I would say, sweet, as a school board member, I say, what a disaster. And so if there's pull it out, but then figure out another way. So
Mhm.
it's not a letter writing campaign.
Yeah.
Because if you gotta pull it out, then figure out a way to compensate us for
Mhm.
taking that. Because that's trust from trust. It's from lands, I don't know, but it is, that would be money that comes from lands that 80 years ago, the state of Washington said, we'll manage all your school districts, your timberlands for you. And they've been doing a decent job, and we've gotten a decent amount of money, and now there's increasingly less,
Yeah.
timber is smaller, there's less of it, and now they're pulling big chunks out. And so,
That timber excise tax comes from other timber, not just state timber.
okay, well,
Oh,
so
that
that's-
Well, and there's
that's
also
why-
federal forest, which I'm not sure where you
Well,
guys
it
are
should
with
be
federal
like-
forest.
yeah, like
Like,
Summit or.
Like Sierra
Sierra.
or,
Sure, sure.
or
Hampton.
Forest Service, yep, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, thanks.
And then the state lands, or the state
State,
forest
okay,
money is
yeah.
off of the timber sales that the DNR sells,
Mm,
Okay, thank you.
which they cut.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
also, Karen, if you'd like.
Hardly.
Your area of expertise.
Yes.
We can get you a kind of 5-year history or whatever, you know, just because we haven't done the district on that, but we can get you that.
Yep.
Okay.
I know what we're hearing from the DNR is they've cut, we used to, in our district here, the DNR would sell about between 30 and 51 million board feet a year. There's still less than 30 million feet in all the state of Washington. That's the difference. It's been just going down.
The last variance I'll point out here is revenue from school food service. Again, your enrollment was higher, and so then the revenue you receive from feeding the kiddos go up a little bit. Okay, the bottom half of this table, still on revenue by source. Let's see here, we have some variance in here, 6152. These are your unbudgeted grants. And then school, this is federal school food service. There's a variance with higher revenues there too. Okay. And then here's a pictorial graph of your revenue by source. About 75% from state, 9% from federal, and then 13% from local tax. Those are your major revenue sources. Okay, so now we'll move into expenditures. And then with expenditures, we have sort of chopped them up in different ways. There's about 3 different ways you can look at the revenues that we presented today. This one is expenditures by program, so basically basic education and then also other types of programs and services. Let's see. My notes here. These expenditures in this area, your title, grants, et cetera, here, they're offset by the revenue that we just described, different programs that the district received funding for. So that's the ESEA disadvantaged, other title, learning assistance program, and then the special pilot programs. Most of the other numbers were pretty close to budget. There is one, special education, that was just a little bit underspent, but I don't have a ton of information about that particular program.
Shocking.
I know, I was just gonna say,
Like,
how did they do that?
Sense, no.
it's still small, the variance is small
Yeah.
compared to the budget
Yeah.
and the expenditures, but I thought that was interesting.
Well, we never know, right? Like, so we do budget high in special ed because, like this year, the number of transfer students we had come into the district was disproportionate number of students with IEPs that transferred in. And that happens, and it often happens like in January. So we have to guess, like, how much are we gonna be paying for special education?
Is there a per person amount?
Totally depends on their needs. So some students just need some reading support in a gen ed class. Some students need a separate class. Some students need one-on-one paraeducator. Some need occupational therapy, speech language, speech. It's just a very wide range.
So when you're making a guess though, are you basing it on wage per person to do that, or how is that?
We kind of look at, we take our current amount, the previous year, and say how many new students are we anticipating, do we see any change in needs, and then if it's just, oh, somebody needs speech, that's not going to add a lot of cost to us, but if it's the one-on-one pair or big behaviors where they're going to need to be in a room with just 2 other students, so that's a teacher, then we just look at what are the needs we're aware of that are coming in that we need to budget for. Yeah. Or are we aware of anybody planning to move out of district, and then we take that into account. Yeah.
So I'll zoom in on this in a minute. So this sort of breakdown of expenditures is broken out into administration, instruction, supporting activities, and then other support like transportation, maintenance, grounds and buildings, etc. Things of note, the board of directors line item is actually legal fees and audit costs.
Oh, I was
So-
Yeah, I was gonna-
What did we do? We did not spend $160,000.
It all goes under 11.
Remember, you have to pay for the audit, it's not.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's good, at least we went down. I mean, it's at 83 instead of 160.
Yeah, so less legal fees, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And it could be when your audit occurred.
Yeah, you probably get
Okay.
Yes, audits as
And,
well.
and I will just say, remember, we have an audit again this year because we switched to cumulative, and so because our entire system changed, they've already said we're gonna have so instead of a lighter year and a smaller audit amount, it will be the same.
And that's why the budget is 1.6.
I know, yeah, so I don't want any surprises for anybody.
Yes, right.
Okay. Those are
Your,
my questions.
the business office variance there, the ESD contract, that was $32,000, which wasn't budgeted. There was $32,000 of expenses in the last school year, and then also some support for your migration to cumulative. So those were the main reasons for that, that variance. I have some notes here about some of these other variances: supervision, instruction, and unbudgeted sped director. And then, oh, this is actually going to answer the other question. This $213,000 underspent under health. The notes say here, unspent special ed professional contracted services. I see. So did you have some special ed contracted services that were?
This was last school year?
Yeah.
Under
Okay,
health?
SLPs and OTs, that it's typically SLPs,
I know, but it was
OTs.
pretty high last year.
Mm.
It would drop this year because we're down to 1 SLP
SLP?
this year. We had a BCBA.
Maybe it's something
I'd have
to
to
look into.
look.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, nothing's coming to mind. I would think it would have been higher, so we might have, We might have planned for. Yeah, school nurse.
can't
This,
see.
this, like,
Can't see it.
Sarah falls into this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like our school psych falls into here, we've just had one school psych. Our OT falls into here, we've only just had one. Speech language pathologist, we had 2, this year we have 1, so it should drop this year. The BCB, the board certified behavior analyst was
We-
in here.
But we had grants for that too, which brought down the cost of this expenditure. We had all those special ed grants, which brought down the cost of it.
Oh, so that, yeah, that's right, we got.
We had like
3.
3 special ed grants.
Like $150,000 in special ed grants,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
That were for private projects. Yes, that's right.
Okay, great.
That's right, and so we were able to shift the expenditures to the grants instead of hitting
Yes.
here. Good memory, yes.
Okay, and then my notes under instructional support here were the, again, grants, expenditures associated with different additional funding that wasn't quite expected.
Sorry, I keep interrupting.
So
So
that's great.
the dilemma with the grants that aren't the annual grants that we're just used to applying for is that we can't budget for something we don't know would become available. And so last year, quite a few grants became available that we were awarded that weren't budgeted for. So they didn't mess up this because it looks like we didn't know what we were doing, but we didn't know we would have the.
But that's why we
The
have
money.
the, that's why we have the capacity.
Or like last month, I said I just applied for 1.4 million in more grants that are not like every year grants. And so if we get those, a similar thing will happen next year. Yeah.
I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, one, we have an explanation, and it's a good one,
Yeah.
like we got grants. I'm okay with that variance.
Yes, that's exactly the point of this.
Yeah, that's okay.
I just have some notes here that a lot of these sort of sections, like food service, transportation, if you look at them as a whole, they net close to zero. So it's just sort of, expenditures happen in different areas than budgeted specifically. And then utilities overall are about a net $60,000 lower than anticipated. And it's just, I assume, due to conservative budgeting.
Isn't because rates have decreased.
Yeah, Okay, another way to break down your expenditures is by activity. Let's see. Oh, actually, no, this is the close-up of what we were just looking at.
Mhm.
Okay, this is the last way I'm gonna cut up this pie of expenditures. It's by object. So in this one is basically just broken out by salaries and benefits, and then supplies, materials, etc. And so you can see most of your expenses are in this category. And this particular table, we also included percentages so that you could see how they relate to each other. I don't have, let's see here, I don't have a ton of notes on these variances. Overall, they're relatively small. In your salaries and benefits, it shows $134,000 more expenses than budgeted, and that's 1.4% of expenditures, so it's not a large variance. Do you guys have any questions about that? Here's the pictorial representation. Salaries and benefits are about 80%, and then purchase services 15%, and then supplies and materials are 6% of your expenditures.
And just a reminder, purchase services include our contracting for the school site, the OT, the SLP, the board certified behavior analyst, all of those, because we have had those positions posted and we cannot fill them in person, and each year we'll try again, but,
So basically, that's part of salaries.
correct, so when we,
Yeah, that way.
yes,
But on those, you don't pay the benefits.
correct.
Exactly.
But we tend to pay a higher hourly rate
Yeah.
because we don't, yeah.
Okay, now we'll spend just a little bit of time talking about your other funds besides the general fund. This is your capital projects fund summary. The small district modernization grant, which was the elementary school upgrades, is here in this line. Your revenue, grant revenue for that project was 1.1 million, and your expenditures was no match, I heard, so it was really good.
No matching.
And then in this slide, it's not highlighted, but there's a large capacity, just in case you were successful with some large grants. So it's $4 million revenue and in expenditures there.
So did you catch that? So
Yes.
just like in the others, we have the 400,000 capacity. This was because Paul and I did the grant the previous spring, which was this budget. So there was the AC, but we also put in for another 2.6 million small district modernization grant, which we haven't heard one way or the other if we've got awarded it yet. Who knows? But that was to replace the heating units at the high school.
The boiler and whatnot.
The boiler is, we can't find a grant big enough to replace the boiler. But we did everything else at the heating system for the high school. Anyway, so that's why we put such big capacity in, because we were hoping we would be awarded that grant last year, but we didn't get it yet.
That makes perfect sense. Next is the ASB fund summary, and the district had kind of budgeted to spend down a little bit. The same sort of line of thought that you sort of budget for high expenditures, just in case you actually experience them. But it turned out that the fund managed to balance almost perfectly. And then last one, transportation vehicle fund summary. Got more interest here than expected. That's the $17,000, that's where that's coming from. This line item, this 4,000 line item is depreciation. That's what the state provides in your depreciation apportionment. And then the district budgeted for a bus, just in case that happened this year. But as Carrie said, it sounds like that'll happen next year. And that's it. Here are all the lovely resources that we used and that you can take a look at. And then in your spare time, you can read over the actual F-196. It's very exciting reading. Poring over those numbers to get them into this much prettier format.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. I missed the detail.
Gosh, that's a lot. All right, any last minute questions I can help with?
No, thank you.
Okay, that's it for me.
Carrie, do you have our student report from
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes. Okay, sports. All high school winter sports have started, girls and boys basketball and wrestling. Middle school boys basketball has also been happening. There are 16 boys playing boys basketball, coached by Jesse Reed and Adam Colbert. Is that right?
Yes.
Girls basketball, there are 12 girls participating and are coached by Quebec and Violet. And just a note, so the coaches are Jesse for boys and Quebec for girls, and then after a certain period of time, they could put in for assistant coaches for the contract. So Adam and Violet are official.
Okay.
Just for that. Wrestling, there are 17 wrestlers, wow,
That's great.
coached by Riley.
Victor.
Victor, yes, thank you. My brain was freezing there. And then middle school boys have been doing pretty fantastic. They beat Darrington not last night, but last week with only 6 boys.
Wow.
And then last night, they almost tied against Orcas, who they lost last time to 20-something points. And so they're really learning their positions and to play as a team, so it's pretty exciting. And they have like 13 games, so they have another 2 weeks and then they'll be done.
So I should be going checking the webpage too.
Yeah, and middle school boys' games are at the elementary.
Yep.
The boys and girls, since we just are fielding varsity teams for basketball girls and boys, there are, of the games, there are quite a few that are double headers, either here or away, so that saves on transportation costs because both teams can travel away. Yeah, so when people come to visit, come to watch the games, they'll get both boys and girls,
And
yeah.
what's going on now? Have they started the basketball games?
Games haven't started yet, practices started last Monday, so next week.
Okay.
Have a sprint, the boys have a sprint,
Oh, they have a
jamboree.
jamboree tomorrow, yeah. She says during our monthly meetings, so she means the ASB executive sessions, there have been many requests, and here are some that have been approved. We have approved the seniors doing the Valentine's Day candygrams, which runs for 2 weeks, and then sophomores will do the Tolo, which Elliot thinks is Valentine's Day, February 14th, which is Saturday, but we'll confirm. And then events within the school, the Thanksgiving break is happening this week, so we have no school and district offices are closed tomorrow through Friday. And we have just finished parent-teacher conferences Monday, Tuesday this week. So there's her report.
Your turn again, Carrie.
Okay, I'm gonna just update on the alternative learning education, where we're at. So, I can't remember, did I share the survey results last time?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
So we had, like 13 people respond to the survey that went out in the Concrete Herald and on the website and in Parent Square. And 70% are of current students. 15% are of students that are currently homeschooled. And so that's good. And then it was a pretty well split between elementary and high school. Their students are split between elementary and high school. 38% said they'd be interested in learning about a program that combines learning at home and on-site classes. And then 53% they said they want more information. So
Okay.
that's 93% say they want more, right, information. 15, and let's see, I gotta do my maths. 85% say they are interested in a flexible high school program focused on credit recovery. And then the biggest reason they'd be interested is access to electives and enrichment activities is the top. Parent involvement in learning is the second, and small class size is the third priority. And then the question was, do you currently homeschool? And 15% currently homeschool. But another 15% currently have their student enrolled in a different ALE program. So if we could recapture those.
And that would be other districts someplace.
Yep. And yeah, and all of them want to keep getting updates. So there's that. So then, so I've been talking to several other districts that have ALE programs. So alternative learning, the proposal is relaunching Twin Cedars, which is primarily would be a credit retrieval type program. It's a part-time program. Students would not come every day for every subject. They would come like Monday, Thursday for English and social studies, and Tuesday, Friday for math and science, like a half day. Or it could be combined where half the day is Edgenuity credit retrieval and then half day is in person. But it can't be that they're doing the same subject every day at the same time. Then it's not an ALE, it's just another comprehensive high school, right? So that was the one proposal out there. The second one was to launch a parent partnership, which is to recapture students that are currently being homeschooled, like true homeschooling, not Washington Virtual Academy or Insider Connections, like an online school. This is, no, the parents are homeschooling them, but they would love to maybe do some social activities or come in for art class. And the district then provides a teacher that is responsible for the individual learning plans. And the individual learning plan says, here's the plan and the curriculum to do 20 hours of schoolwork at home in these subjects. And then that, we are funded then based on the anticipated number of hours that student will work at home. This is where it gets interesting. So my thought was just recapturing students that currently live in Concrete School District to create some kind of partnership with parents. But the other districts I've talked to, and I won't name them, but one is a district of the size 500 and something students, 130 are in person, like a brick and mortar school. The rest are all parent partnership students. And they offer that service statewide. So I hadn't even considered offering a parent partnership for somebody that lives out of Concrete. In order for us to do that, we have to apply to OSPI to be eligible to do that, and it could be a 2-year process. So I just want to put that's more information. But they don't offer an in-person parent partnership because it is a statewide program, and so it's all via Zoom. And then they have some teachers that are contracted to work from home. So that opens that up for possible teachers working from home. But anyway, so I'm looking more into that. And then at the community forum, it was brought up, like, why don't we consider an online school like Washington Virtual Academy or Insight? And so I've been looking into that. These other districts I've talked to who had also looked into that basically said you have to have a certain number of students to even be able to move forward with that. But I will get the information and present it. I think I said in December I'd have that information. So just keep moving ahead. And also I've talked to the high school staff about it, about relaunching Twin Cedars. So they're starting to think, like, what would a schedule look like? Because you need a teacher of record, like you need an English teacher teaching English and a science teacher teaching science. And so what would that look like? And so they're stewing on it right now. So, any questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we should be moving ahead with that, and I'm glad that you're figuring all that out. Okay, so no recognition this month and no old business. So moving on to new business. We need a motion for approval of the 2025-26 multilingual learner plan.
It's a state requirement.
I've been through it.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's kind of the same thing every year. Like, this is the program we only offer, basic support within the general education. We do not have a bilingual language program here where the student's receiving their education in their home language.
How many students do we have with English as a second language?
Just 15, yeah. And that's why, because if we had 15 in first grade,
Right.
this would be a different conversation. But when you have one first grader, one second grader, one fifth grader, 3 seventh graders, then it's more
Is Julia
support.
handling Ms. Snyder, is she handling a lot of them?
She is primarily at secondary right now. So we need to get her down to the elementary, yeah. But we have our textbooks, our math and our English textbooks in like Spanish workbooks. And I say Spanish because that is our only language right now. A couple years ago, we did have a student who spoke Ukrainian, but right now it's just Spanish. And so we have these pens that students can highlight any text, and it translates and reads it to them. Of course, anything that's online, they can hit the button and it translates for them. And then at the high school now, we have 4 bilingual staff members. I'm not sure at the elementary, but, we have one teacher at the elementary that actually has an endorsement in multilingual learners, yeah. So, anyway, that's what we have. And we do get apportionment for this, so when Angie showed the apportionment, we don't only get apportionment based on our enrollment, it's also enrollment within programs. So depending on how many multilingual learners you have, we get funding for them, and that funds the paraeducator, the bilingual paraeducator, barely. I mean, it's not enough to hire a teacher, for example. But if our numbers go up, then we would use that money to hire a teacher. Yeah.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 year?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Can you click on the 4-year plan so it's
Oh,
open
yeah.
on the?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Oh.
can I?
Um,
I have to do it in there?
no.
Why does it look weird? Oh, that's funny.
Well, I'll talk about it, and then
Okay.
we'll get it added.
Sorry,
So-
it was there.
So CTE, as a requirement for CTE, you always have to have this 4-year plan. Why this is 24 through 28 is last year, the plan didn't come to the board.
Okay.
So this is like, oops, this was last year's plan moving forward, and then this spring you'll get
25 to 29?
25 through 29. Somehow we'll get back on track. But basically, our programs are Debbie Zeisers, nutrition, independent living, kind of like the food and nutrition and health. We have Paul Ryder's commercial art, yearbook, photography. I'm missing one in there.
Graphic
And he
design?
did graphic design last year. This year, he's focused on those 3. And then we have Elliot. Jim used to teach wood shop. We're converting that to wood tech. And there's an article will be in the December Concrete Herald. The purpose of CTE is so students can get the skills they need to go into a career, right? These skilled careers. There are a lot of CTE programs out there that if a student goes through all of that and goes into that career, they're not going to be making a living wage. So when we try to decide what CTE programs we're going to offer, we want to make sure there's a demand for those careers. So wood tech, which would lead to what's called Core Plus Construction. If a student goes through those years with us, then they could go into an apprenticeship program, and after the apprenticeship, be making $35 an hour, for example. And so Elliot is working with Cedar Woolley, because they've had this program for 7 years. so for example, next year, he would start teaching what's called geometry and construction, but he has to go to a training. So we have several grants out right now to be able to launch that program, hoping to hear back in December if we get those grants. But that would build out the, from the wood shop classroom, it would actually build out an outdoor place where students could build tiny homes. And then we can sell those tiny homes.
Well, that's
And then they're getting all that experience, yeah. There's another grant out there to send Elliot to training, this geometry and construction training, because you have to go and get certified to teach it. So anyway, the four-year plan kind of maps those out, and then the new one will have the revised one with the Core Plus. And then Klaus Jones is our CTE director. He has then gone out, our CTE advisory committee was pretty whittled down to maybe 2, this is industry experts in the community, and he's got it up to, I think, 10. So that will get more voices in to influence our programs. So we'll get this to you, but that is what the plan is.
Sorry.
Do I have a motion to approve the 24 through 28 CTE four-year plan?
I so moved.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Oh, and then the fun one. We need a motion to approve the following grants.
Can you click on it, Lisa?
Oh, sure.
Title 1A, Title 2 Part A, Title 4 Part A, Federal Special Education IDEA B, Federal Section 619, Federal Flow-Through Special Ed State, LAP High Poverty, LAP Highly Capable, and TBIP, which is Transitional Bilingual Instruction Program. So these are all of our annual ones that we have to
Yeah,
approve, correct?
and I just want to show you, so the reason I grade these out, and we get more grants than this, right? I mean, but a lot of them are just one-time grants. But Title I, we count on Title I, that pays for a lot, so we do it, we track it. Well, this grant, this Title II, I thought that might be a recurring grant too, so I started showing it here, but now it's not. They've actually moved it to a state grant, it was federal. But these are all like consistent, and then this one, because we didn't have Twin Cedars, we weren't getting the learning assistance program, but if we launch it again, then we'd have Twin Cedars money again. And then highly capable is apportionment, just like the transitional bilingual or the multilingual is, and so it's always about that amount. But I
Hey,
can write
question
all the
about the
time here.
highly capable, this is off track from this. If a highly capable person is doing very, very well in one of the shop classes or an art class, is that, like, is highly capable always judged on math and English, or? Okay.
It's because it's the easiest, right? The easiest to measure is what I want to say. I think how we'll handle highly capable for other things is through our mastery-based
Yep.
policies
Yeah,
and
that's what I was
procedures, so
thinking.
somebody can assess out,
Yes,
basically.
yes.
And then school improvement went away. So last year was the last year that the elementary qualified for school improvement because they improved so much, right? And then the district dropped off from school improvement before that because they stopped funding it, and then Twin Cedars because we didn't have any students in it. But, so that school improvement, those grants, next time I do this, I'll just not have them on here. But we have other, like I said, single year grants that kind of fall under school improvement, or employee development, basically. And so those I can present in a different way, but that 30,000 here, 50,000 here, it brings in some money that allows us for professional development.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve all of those
Where
grants?
did that go?
If you
Right,
hit
so-
escape,
I know, just a second.
Okay.
I got right, Paul down. Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
All opposed?
I was playing around with it earlier and it was working just fine.
Lisa's trying to figure this out.
Okay.
Sorry.
Great.
There we go. And we'll close that, and we're back. Good, not that, sorry. Okay. D.
So this is for approval of the appointments to the for and against levy statement committees.
Mhm.
So it's me a little bit.
Yeah, so we're required, so in a voter's pamphlet, you'll have the for and against
Mhm.
that somebody has written. And so we have to put out saying, does anybody want to be for or against? And these are people that say, I am okay being known to be against this or for this, right? They have to know that their name, their phone numbers will be out there for anybody to contact. So Joe Frank, who was on the for committee for the February 2024 levy, is willing to do it again, and we didn't have any against, and we didn't 2 years ago either. Doesn't mean people might
Aren't
not
against
question it, right? But this is saying, I'm gonna go on record, I'm gonna be in the voter's pamphlet against the levy.
Yes.
Okay. So do I have a motion for approval of the appointments to the for and against levy statement committees?
I so move.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then the big one, a motion for approval of the resolution 1533, which would be a 4-year replacement of the expiring levy for educational programs and operations. It will run in February 2026 for collection in 2027, 28, 29, and 23. And we put the dollar figure in.
$1.38, can you open that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've talked about that. My only question about this was, it says in here, you know, can we be putting in, asking for a special election, and I just wondered, can we run these with regular elections and save the special election money?
Well, what happens is, let's say we say we're not gonna run it till next November, which would be a regular election, and it doesn't pass, we're stuck. If we run it in February and it doesn't pass, we can try again in April or in November.
Okay.
But, so that's why, because you can only run it up to 2 times in a year.
And we're running this with other schools, so it's.
Right, and so Cedar Woolley, Burlington, Mount Vernon,
I believe not running this.
at least in the paper so far, it's been Cedar and
I
Burlington.
think
are running it.
even Connor, no, maybe not,
Yeah.
because I think they're already.
So
Very
so
good.
yes, it saves us quite a bit when we run it at the same time as other districts, because you split based on
Special.
your numbers, you split the cost of running the special election, or special election. So, last time we ran it, it was only us and Mount Vernon. And so of course, Mount Vernon has more students, so they paid,
I'm not
or
sure.
more voters, so they paid more. But it still could have been a lot less if we were running with other districts. Which is also gets to the 4-year, because if, 4-year aligns nicely with the 4-year budget forecast. If we get to our strategic plan, it helps us with our strategic plan, which would be multiple years. And also aligning with other districts that run 4 years, because if we do 3 years, then we're off again from everybody else, so.
Well, I'm running 4 years also, and we're not asking voters constantly, hey, do you want to give us some more money? We only have to ask them once every 4 years.
Yeah, so this last one, the February 2024, we were asking, I think it was $1.44 to $1.48 per thousand, so this is less.
Well, plus we were asking for the capital projects. wasn't we?
Right, plus the capital project levy, which we would not be asking for. So overall, the capital project levy right now is like $1.88, and the EP&O is like $1.44. So that's quite a hefty tax bill, and so this wouldn't start being collected until January 2027.
And we're asking though for only $1.38, is that correct?
Yeah.
And by then, the capital levy will have come down.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion for approval of resolution 1532, the 4-year replacement of the expiring levy? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And our final business item is a motion for approval of resolution to invest $1534.
Estimate.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Was there any public comment on non-agenda items?
No.
Okay. Future meetings, again in December, there will be no work session, so our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be at 6 PM on Thursday, December 18th, 2025, in this room. No executive session tonight, so meeting is adjourned. All right, thank you.
Drive safe going home, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe the rain will
Watch
stop.
for elk.
You know, everybody did, we had our board meeting last night, and so we have somebody, it was a Cedar Woolley